released its latest number on the gross domestic product.
Think of the way that Canadian government It's simple as that. It's not like they're complicated of a guy to analyze. So
Can you hear me?
Yeah, Rob, I can hear you, but I can't hear the presentation.
Exactly. That's what I was going to comment on. I can't hear anything either online.
Correct. I can't hear or see anything. Well, I can see you now.
Not better? Can you hear me now?
And I did send an email to Sam, but I don't know if it means anything.
Guy, can you hear Murray speaking?
No.
Hello, Guy. Can you hear me?
Yes.
No.
So I can't hear the speaker now.
We can hear you. Can you hear me speaking?
Yes, I can hear you speaking, John.
Okay, Murray, can you speak?
Can you hear me now?
Um,
Did you just hear Murray speak?
yeah, I did, but then we lost him.
Okay. Why don't you count to 10? See if Guy can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Can you hear me now? And that's
That's
all.
it. Yeah, that's all he said.
Yeah.
I tried to get him to count to 10, but he's in IT, so that I'm going to get the finance director up to do that. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good point, David. They count zeros and ones. That's right.
Okay. Hopefully we're through the technical difficulties part of this presentation. I was mentioning one of the areas that we support within the organization is spatial information. Spatial information plays a large role in what we do, and our geomatics group coordinates acquiring that information from the province and our municipal partners, as well as sharing that information with those groups. Our WebGIS platform is a very robust tool that is used by a number of people within the organization. It provides a lot of flexibility and information to the users to help them in their decisions. You can see here on the screen capture that we can access river data, we can do elevation profiling, we can look at additional information with our current GIS products. Another area that our geomatics group supports is collecting information in the field and helping train staff to acquire that information. We also do a large amount of data processing to create terrain models for hydrologic modeling and analysis. Another area our group supports is business analysis and application development. Once a business problem has been identified, we work with the business unit to gather requirements and evaluate solutions, and whether that is buying a solution or building a solution, will help determine what the best approach is to solve that problem. If we buy a solution, then we'll provide implementation support. And if we build tools, then we'll help deliver those tools and make sure they meet the needs of the business unit. Some of the other things that we do that don't fit into a nice bucket are providing retail support. So our conservation authority has a point of sale system in a number of our parks where we sell firewood, ice, day use, vehicle parking, that kind of stuff. And not all conservation authorities have that kind of system in place. So we're somewhat unique in that regard. We also support entry systems such as gates or building security, and we also provide support for video surveillance. So where are we going? Well, the strategic plan has outlined a number of areas where IT is going to provide support. One of the things was to provide, look for digital solutions to improve service delivery, AKA modernize our business. We're going to be investing in asset management for critical infrastructure, and IT will play a role there. And of course, we have cybersecurity as an ongoing activity. Other things that may change the way we do business or the way we support the organization are cloud computing. Everyone knows about AI, and the Internet of Things is an area where we're spending more time currently, with all the devices in our river network being much smarter and able to communicate over the network. We're getting real-time information to help support our flood operations in that regard. And that's all I had. I apologize for the technical difficulties. I hope everyone heard everything else okay. If there are any questions, I'm happy to take them.
Are there any questions of Murray with respect to his presentation? What I'm going to suggest is that those who are virtual today will get you a copy of the of Murray's presentation. If you've got some questions, you can link directly with him. And if anybody around the board table would like a copy of that presentation as well, just let us know and we'll make it available to answer any questions as well, additional questions you may have of Murray. Because there's a lot there, particularly at the end. It's really easy to list that technology on a PowerPoint presentation, but there's a lot behind each of those pieces of technology, particularly the Internet of Things these days. So Murray, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry, I had one question from Kevin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Two questions. One, and I think you mentioned it during your presentation, how does our system compare to what other conservation authorities do, either in the province or across the country?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I would like to say that our system is very sophisticated. It is probably it is considered a world leader in terms of water information collection. We were the first to implement such a solution in Southern Ontario, along with the province. And now a number of CAs are using the same solution for monitoring their water flows and water infrastructure. It is quite a complex system and does take quite a bit of support.
Well, I can tell you, as someone who fly fishes in the river, I really appreciate all that data that I can easily check. But my third question to you is, if there were more resources, what is it you would be looking to do to improve our system?
Through you, Mr. Chair, if I could just repeat your question so I understand it. If
You're proud of the system, you're saying it's we're a leader, certainly provincially, if not nationally. But is there more we should be doing? Is there more we could be doing? Or are you quite satisfied with the with what we have at present?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, I would say we are very satisfied with what we currently have. Although technology is constantly changing and we're always looking to improve what we have, we are exploring other technological options to make our network more robust. Some of the things we've done recently are introducing failover communications. So by that, I mean at all our locations, if we are connecting to Bell internet and that fails, then we'll fail over to Rogers internet. And if that fails, we'll fail over to cellular. And if that fails, we'll fail over to radio communications. So we're trying to build redundancy based on technologies that are available. And we're always looking to improve that redundancy to make sure that we always have the latest information available.
Thanks, Kevin. Sean?
Yeah, I was interested that you had cameras, and I'm going, you know, obviously cameras is a visual thing, but not, but do you have sort of monitors there where those sites where the cameras are? Because it's one thing to try to evaluate, oh, it looks like the water's higher, but you know, how does that work into the scheme of things? And are there a lot of cameras along the system?
Through you, Mr. Chair, there are not currently a number of cameras. We only have a couple. They are very static, or they provide snapshots as to what is happening in the river. We are looking at adding additional devices and cameras to give us a better overview of what is currently happening. Those cameras all communicate over the internet and require access and controls like that, and that's where IT plays a role. As the devices become more sophisticated, we are exploring like the use of radar to give us water elevations in addition to what we can see on cameras to provide us the best information possible to make the best decisions. But cameras are somewhere that we are exploring more and likely will add more in the future.
If I may add.
If Vahid may add something, Mr. Chair.
Through you, Mr. Chair. There are 2 cameras, as Mary said, that are available to public now. The system has more cameras. We have a few cameras at some of our reservoirs that are used as contingency for monitoring. The monitoring does exist over there. Cameras just provide us, as you said, a visual of what the actual water levels are. And we're in the process of installing more cameras for ice management plan recommendations that we passed last year. So we have more, only 2 of them are available to public. Thanks.
Anything further, Sean? Any further questions of Murray? Seeing none, thank you. Appreciate it. Good
Thank you,
presentation.
Mr. Chair.
Moving on, we've got correspondence. This is the second piece of correspondence we've had from the Mayor of Guelph. And I'm looking for a mover and a seconder to receive his most recent letter. Moved by Sue, seconded by David. Any questions or comments? All in favor? That's carried. The next, excuse me, the next matter is my report. It's a shorter one this month. If there's no questions, then I'll take a mover and a seconder to receive it. Moved by Pam, seconded by Mike. Thank you. All in favor? That's carried. The next matter is the draft budget and timelines and considerations. Staff are here to take any questions that you may have based on the report. You know, having read the report, that staff are looking for direction on the levy. But before we do that, I'll take a mover and a seconder, and then moved by Brian, seconded by Gord. Any questions of staff with respect to the report or any comments with respect to the levy? Go ahead, David.
Just as far as the levy increase goes, I've always found it tough to say keep it at a certain percentage. I would say keep it as low as possible, but I mean, at the end of the day, we have a mandate to fill. We have legal obligations, and we got to pay staff, we got to keep the lights on. There's going to be inflation. We know all that. So at the end of the day, keep it as low as possible. That's how I see it. And keep the service levels the same and do what you got to do. That's how I see it.
Okay, David, any other comments or questions of staff with respect to the draft? All right, seeing none, then I'll call the question. All in favor? That's carried. Sorry, cash and investment status. I need a mover or seconder for that report. Moved by Sue, seconded by Pam. Any questions? Yes, Kevin, go ahead.
Yeah, I have two questions. I see we've got, I think it's $5 million in the current account. Yeah, I think we got 5 million in the one investment savings, high interest savings, 3.28%. Have we considered moving some of those monies over to, and I see there was a bond purchase through National Bank on June 27th, which interest is 5.29%. So wondering why such a large sum of money is being held in a savings account.
Through you, Chair, that's a very good question. We were analyzing this report within our team actually just yesterday and discussing having a minimum threshold where we don't want to keep cash in the current account, although it is earning some favorable interest rates in comparison to some of the more recent rates that are available. But we will be transferring about $5 million from that account in the coming week or so.
Okay. And my second question is, I see that you've got a GIC maturing in December for $2 million, one through CIBC Trust. And what do you think will be done with those funds?
Through you, Chair, we work with our investment advisors for reinvestment decisions. We'll be scanning the market for available and favorable interest rates to reinvest those funds at that time.
So you'll be looking at a GIC again, or will you be looking at a bond?
It truly depends on what is available at the time. That is the most favorable decision for the organization.
Great, thanks.
Thanks, Kevin. Any further questions before I call? Seeing none, I will call the question. All in favor? It's carried. Thank you. The next matter is the monthly financial summary. I need a mover and a seconder before we look at that. Moved by Sue, seconded by Dan. Any questions of staff with respect to our financial summary as of the end of August? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried. The next matter is a cleaning contract, and I need a mover or seconder for that report as well. Yes, Pam, thank you. And Dan? Any questions on this contract proposal? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried. The next matter will begin with a presentation by Beth Brown, and then I'll take a mover or seconder after she makes her presentation and take any questions as well for discussion. So Beth, over to you.
Thank you. Good morning. Through Mr. Chair, I'll be providing a presentation on proposed amendments to GRCA's permitting policies resulting from a scoped review we had completed focusing on existing farm operations in the floodplain. Under the Conservation Authorities Act and Ontario Regulation 4124, GRCA requires permits prior to an applicant undertaking any development activities within regulated areas or altering a water course or interfering or changing in any way with a wetland. GRCA may issue a permit if the activity is not likely to affect the control of flooding, erosion, dynamic beaches, or unstable soil and bedrock, and when the activity is not likely to create conditions or circumstances that in the event of a natural hazard might jeopardize the health and safety of persons or result in the damage or destruction of property. So in order to determine if these criteria are met, policies have been approved by the board to guide our decision-making. The applicant must demonstrate that these policies are met before permission can be granted. Staff have received feedback from the agricultural community that our current policies related to existing agricultural uses in the floodplain are too restrictive. In particular, we heard that our current policy, which imposes a maximum size cap for additions to existing structures and new accessory structures of 100 square meters or 1,076 square feet, is not sufficient for modern day agricultural operations. For context, that's about the size of a 4-car garage. While the current policy would allow more than one building, each building would be capped at that 100 square meters. So staff initiated a policy review specifically to look at this, focusing on the maximum permitted size cap. This review was of great importance to the agricultural community. Agricultural in our watershed represents about 61% of the land. Ontario farmers feed about 14.1 million people in the province, according to a 2021 census. So this policy has has the potential to affect the continued success of existing operations in the floodplain. A detailed review was undertaken by staff, which included consideration of legislative, regulatory, policy contexts. We also did a comparison of policies of other conservation authorities. We undertook a geographical information system or GIS-based analysis to determine the average size of a farm building in our watershed. We undertook a review of building permit information from a representative rural municipality. We considered the building code distinction between large and small buildings, and we also looked at what modern agricultural needs are. Some of the key findings are as follows. There was variation amongst the conservation authorities related to agricultural buildings in the floodplain. We looked at 20 different policy documents from other conservation authorities. 10 had policies specific to agricultural buildings in the floodplain. 6 had no size cap if certain requirements are met. For example, one conservation authority's permission was dependent on the depth of flooding on the area that was proposed for the build. 3 of the conservation authorities that had no size cap, though, prohibit certain uses in the floodplain, such as commercial greenhouse operations, large-scale enclosed equestrian centers, as well as large-scale livestock facilities. Regarding additions, the policies varied, ranging from no cap if certain criteria are met to a cap of 50% of the original size. Others had a cap to a maximum size of 100 square meters. For accessory structures, some conservation authorities didn't have specific policies. Others ranged from a maximum cap of 100 square meters to some with no cap if certain criteria are met. So the results of that analysis showed that there was variation amongst the conservation authorities. The GIS analysis that we undertook found that the average size of a farm building outside of the areas that we regulate was about 55 square meters. This seemed in line with the permits that we reviewed from the one municipality with the size of equipment or storage sheds that were being permitted. But a lot of the larger buildings like dairy and poultry were much larger than the 555 square meters. That 550 square meters value would be considered a small building under the Ontario Building Code. The difference between large and small centered around whether or not it was over or under 600 square feet, and if it's more than 3 stories or not. We also, as I mentioned, undertook consideration of operational needs, which varies greatly depending on the individual farm operations. What was clear from the review, though, was that our current size of 100 square meters just wouldn't be enough. It would take, for example, if you're just looking at the size of a tractor and a combine alone, that would take up almost the full 100 square meters just with 2 pieces of equipment. As part of the review, kind of in conjunction with the findings that I just spoke to, we looked at a wide range of policy options with the intention that any proposed policy wouldn't be more restrictive than what we currently allow. We consider provincial direction, including Ontario's flooding strategy, which aims to keep people and property out of areas where flooding might provide unacceptable risks and not create new or existing hazards. So staff recommended the best way to achieve this is to implement a risk-based approach, which would keep directing development away from the hazard wherever possible, but where this isn't feasible, for example, where there's existing agricultural use in the floodplain, we would look to reduce the risk through protective measures, such as staying out of areas that would frequently flood, implementing floodproofing measures where appropriate, implementing size caps, and ensuring that existing conditions are not worsened. This slide outlines some key proposed policy changes risks based on this risk-based approach that were presented for the public consultation. A more detailed chart is available in Appendix A of the staff report. So one, we would continue to prohibit new development in the floodplain. As I mentioned, though, there is development already existing within the floodplain. So we're proposing to use some clear terms, such as farm building structures, and include the definition from the building code. Clarify the technical studies, depending on the scale and scope of the project, may be needed to ensure that the proposal won't increase flooding risk. And we propose to continue to allow farm buildings and additions associated with an existing use, but relook at that maximum size cap. So based on the findings of the review, including the average farm building being about 555 square meters and aligning it with the building code definition of a small building of 600 meters, staff had originally sought public consultation on a size cap of 600 square meters. The next couple of slides, I'll dive further though into the size cap. And so during the public consultation, we received 17 comments. Some of the themes that we heard were to ask for engineering studies only when needed. This is the approach that is taken by staff. We're cognizant of potential costs of some of these studies and carefully consider each application on its own merits to determine what is the base information we need to make a decision and to demonstrate that it's meeting policies. The majority of the feedback that we received was related to the size cap. We heard from the agricultural community, as I mentioned, that our current of a size cap of 100 square meters just isn't enough. And what we heard was an even larger size cap should be considered so that they can meet future needs and remain competitive. So as mentioned, staff had originally proposed the maximum size cap of 600 square meters. What we heard is that farm operations are evolving. That number is already becoming outdated, given advances in farm equipment and increasing farm scales. One farm organization had recommended a maximum size cap of 10,000 square feet or 929 square meters. It was said that that size would provide flexibility, enable consolidation of farm buildings, because currently we allow multiple farm buildings, but they would all be at that smaller cap. So allowing a larger cap would allow them to consolidate their operations, which would be more efficient. Again, it would allow more flexibility and provide more usable space. If you just consider one or two large overhead doors to accommodate the size of farm buildings, that takes up a lot of usable space in a building. So allowing a larger building provides them some more usable space. So staff agree that the policy should be forward-thinking and look into the future, and we greatly value the feedback that we received from the agricultural community. So staff are proposing for your consideration, a maximum size cap increase from the 100 square meters to 929 square meters, which is equivalent to a 10,000 square foot building associated with an existing operation. It's important to note that these buildings, through our policies, if they meet our policies, they're not exempt from other policies that may be applicable, other legislation, policies, municipal policies, and requirements. So it's felt that this size would meet agricultural needs while continuing to manage flood risks. So this is the recommendation that is before you today to approve the policy revisions that were included in Appendix 6 of the report. I'm happy to take any questions.
Yes, thank you. So questions? Yes, Kevin, go ahead.
Yeah, just to be clear, when I read the report, I thought the proposal was 600 square meters. So now, but we're being asked to approve the 900 or 10,000 square feet?
In the report, in the summary, I had identified 600 was originally what staff had recommended. However, based on the feedback that we had received during the consultation period, there was a request from the farm organizations, various local chapters of Ontario Federation of Agriculture to look at more. And their recommendation was the 10,000 square feet.
And that's what we're going with.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Other questions? Yes, Mike, go ahead.
Yes, thank you through the chair. I have a farming background. As a kid, I grew up on a farm, and very rapidly the equipment got larger and larger and larger. The plots of land got larger and larger. You know, the 100-acre family farm is long gone in most cases. So these 100-acre family farms are now sometimes one farm of 5,000 acres, 8,000 acres that have been combined. My daughter and son-in-law both farm, and this 10,000 square feet makes huge sense. The equipment is getting much larger, much larger, and certainly a lot of the equipment, because of the cost of it today, you don't want to be leaving it outside in the elements through the course of the year. We don't have a very forgiving climate from October to March or April here. So I have no problem with the 10,000 square feet. And to be quite honest with it, it makes huge economic sense for the province and the agricultural industry. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Guy?
Thank you. Through you, Chair. A couple of questions. One is, once again, on the 10,000 square feet limit, what happens to the operations that are wanting to build buildings larger than that? What kind of process do they have to go through to get approval, or can they?
Through you, Mr. Chair, if the 10,000 square foot is approved today, that would be the maximum that staff would be able to approve. So we would work with the applicant to look at 10,000 square feet. If they would like to proceed, it would, staff wouldn't be able to support it, and it would be a hearing before the board.
Okay, thank you. The other thing was on comment number 17, which was from Grand Valley. Has anyone followed up with them? They feel like they're in a bit of a conflict where they don't approve anything in the floodplains. So I just was wondering if there's been any follow-up with the town of Grand Valley.
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes, we have met with staff. We also provided a response to council.
Okay,
And-
okay.
Yeah.
That's good enough for me. Thank you, since I represent that municipality. I appreciate that.
Thanks, Guy. Brian?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And just a comment, I fully support this recommendation. It's time that we got out of the 60s and got into the 2025 and above. And this equipment can only get so large because the stuff's still got to go down the road. So we're at the maximum for the size a lot of this can get to go down the roads, but we do need this approved. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Any further questions of, yes, go ahead, Mike.
Just a thought. Would they be allowed to put on more than one building on the property of 10,000 square feet? Is there a limit here? What's the criteria?
Through you, Mr. Chair, it's possible, but they would need to look at what the effect of that would be, for example. So it could be a case where, well, one, we would look to see, is there room outside the floodplain to have an additional building? That would be the first step that we would look at. If they were looking at additional buildings, we would also see, is there an area that the property that would be the least risk? Trying to also keep the cluster farm buildings together is another consideration we would do. But that's where the need for technical studies may come into play to look at what's the impact, because we would not want an increase on neighbors, for example, and also looking at the cumulative impact of the floodplain you know, we would try to locate in the least risk area of the property as possible, but they may need to do technical studies to demonstrate that there wouldn't be an impact of the multiple buildings.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions of Beth? Yes, Sue, go ahead.
I was just going to say that we have to remember this is the floodplain. I don't think a lot of farms are completely within the floodplain. So if they wanted an additional 10,000 square feet, I'm sure they could probably find it. I hope they could find it on other parts of their property. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, go ahead, David.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, no, commend staff for listening and responding to the comments they received. In the report, Beth, you defined what a farm building or structure is. It says housing equipment. So I'm thinking implement shed, but you also put in livestock, production, storage, processing of ag. Speaking specifically to livestock, are there any special or additional precautions in the case of a livestock building? And I'm thinking because you got more manure and whatnot. So is that part of the equation to anything else? Do you insist, for example, on a nutrient management plan, or they got to be X number of feet away from a water course, or any additional safeguards, I guess?
Through you, Mr. Chair, there would be other legislation that would kick in, as you said, that would look to those things, like the Nutrient Management Act, for example. For us, we're looking at the effect on the natural hazard. So, you know, flooding, erosion, that sort of thing.
Okay, but I'm looking at number 5. You used to talk about jeopardizing the health or safety of persons or resulting in the damage or destruction of property. Okay, I'll ask this. When we issue the permit, do we insist on a nutrient management plan? Or is that left up to the municipalities to?
No, we wouldn't be able to insist. Our role would be looking at the effect on the natural hazard. So flooding, erosion, again, we wouldn't be able to insist on a nutrient plan. However, there's other legislation in place that would look at that. The other thing that would be looked at is any municipal requirements also. So if something met our policies, there are still other legislation, policies, requirements, bylaws that they would also have to meet that would look at other things that is outside of our mandate.
Okay, and the reason I'm asking is because you know, we're trying to reduce the amount of nitrates. Now I know we don't get a lot from livestock, but it's just something I thought we could go above and beyond. But I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thanks, David. Sue?
Through you, Chair. Yes, we have to remember that this is on top of the Planning Act, which has the minimum distance standards and everything else. Also, how GRCA has worked with the farmers to mitigate a lot of problems near water courses and that. So it's a multi-layered thing. This is one part of a multi-layer, municipal, provincial, GRCA. So it's one of many things that look at this type of development.
Thanks, Sue. Are there any other questions of Beth? All right, seeing none, thank you, Beth. I now need a mover and a seconder for the report, moved by Brian, seconded by Mike. Any discussion amongst the board with respect to the report itself? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? That's carried. So one of the final matters this morning is around current watershed conditions. Staff are here. If anybody has any questions in that regard, I'll need a mover and a seconder to receive the report. Moved by Jerry, seconded by Rob. Question, Kevin?
Yeah, the question through you to staff. In the last month or so, of course, we've had drought conditions, and it's impacted reservoir levels and the flow in the river. We had the rain just recently. Is that got us back up to in reservoir levels where we expect to be this time of year?
Through you, Chair. The reservoir levels are not the lowest that they have been, but they are lower than normal. The rain that we had fortunately happen downstream of the reservoirs. And that's what we always say. The forecast always tells us how much it may happen, but usually we're not very accurate on the location. What we have done is we have also lowered Conestoga Reservoir for the rehabilitation work that's been going on and scheduled over there. So we are a bit lower on that side, but at the moment, we have had a bit of a mild increase in the inflows, which allows us to at least keep it where we are. But we are on the lower side of the reservoir.
Yeah, what would the average water flows be this time of year? So for example, in Brantford, I think right now it's around 35. What would you normally expect it to be?
Our target is 17, and we're well above that at the moment. So with respect to meeting the low flow targets, we're confident that at the moment we have enough water to meet that.
Okay. And what are your weather projections for the next 30,
I'm sorry,
60
I
days?
could not hear you.
What are your weather projections for the next 30, 60 days?
For the next 14 days, mind you, it's weather forecast. It appears to be dry. The province had a long-term forecast that October and November might be a bit drier than normal, but we're expecting, again, I don't have a crystal ball, but we're expecting a similar winter as we observed last year. So.
Thank you, Kevin. Any further questions with respect? Yes, go ahead, Dan.
Oh, through the chair, thanks. Just about the weather conditions, Mayor Davis, maybe pick up the Farmer's Almanac. More luck there, I find.
Dan is joking, but actually, you know, that document is pretty accurate. It's surprising over a year. I started reading it when I was very young, bit of a nerd, still have it. It is quite helpful, but I use it for golf and other things. When my hip is going to ache or whenever, you know. So anyway, so we need a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Pam, seconded by Dan. All in favor? That's carried. No general business, no other business. The closed meeting, the matter that was identified in the agenda was a Okay, so we're back in open session. I need somebody to move and second the minutes of the previous closed session. Do I have a mover, please? Moved by Jerry, seconded by Bruce. All in favor? That's carried. And then the security of property report. Need a mover and a seconder for that as well. Moved by Dan, seconded by Pam. Any questions? Of course, there aren't any. We're in open. All in favor? Thanks. So the next meeting is October 24th at 9:30. I need somebody to move adjournment, please, and second. Moved by Sue, seconded by Gord. All in favor? We're carried and we're adjourned. Thank you very much for joining us this morning, and we'll see you next month.
Nice shirt, Rob. He laughed.